it is do or die. It all comes down to one match at St James's Park for a season's worth of hard work to be defined, and what could be a huge, huge opportunity for next season, both on and off the pitch. But let's have a closer look at the opposition for the final time this season. It's all coming up, Newcastle fans, so do us a favour and make sure you stick around. Welcome back, Black White Banter, ladies and gentlemen, for what is the last match preview of the 24-25 season. What a season it's been. My God, what a roller coaster, the best of my lifetime. But let's make it the best ever by securing Champions League football with destiny in our own hands against Everton on Sunday at this beautiful place behind me. And to say that I have not been able to stop thinking about it all week is an understatement. And my stomach has been sounding like this all week. That was just a sound effect, I promise. They're not that loud. The microphone's nowhere near my ass, I promise. But my God, jokes aside, it's huge. I cannot remember a season in Newcastle for me going down to the last day like this since, God, what? West Ham, when Jonas Gutierrez scored and got an assist to keep us up when he just battled his way back from cancer.
Who knows the true meaning of survival? Make sure that Newcastle do survive at this level in what is probably...
But that was a bank holiday Sunday as well, if my memory serves me correctly, because I went out and got well and truly trolleyed. How this football club has pushed on since then. That was a relegation battle. This is a Champions League battle. And look, a lot of Newcastle fans are going to be looking at this fixture saying it should be a sure thing. Well, I don't think there's a sure thing in the Premier League at all. We've seen it before with matches where we are expected to win, everything is in our favour, but we don't get the look of the ball, we can't break the opposition down. But my God, you know, if you were picking the fixture that would be the one that you needed to win, an Everton team who, by the way, can't finish any higher and can't finish any lower in the league, no matter what their result is. So there's one to bear in mind. Their owners are not putting pressure on David Moyes to get them a little bit higher for a little bit more money in the bank from the Premier League. That's not going to work. So that one's ruled out. So you would say, other than one of the relegated teams, this is a one that you would probably fancy. And I do fancy us. But regardless, we still need to take a match against the side. They're not going to be on the holidays by any means. They're going to want to finish the season strong in a season that they've just waved bye to Goodison Park. Let's look at the opposition a little bit closer and how they might set up on Sunday. Well, yes, Everton might have waved goodbye to their stadium. I mean, I'm happy to wave goodbye to it. I love an old stadium, but my God, that one certainly needed a bit of TLC in the away end, to say the least. And that's coming from a man who's only just recently celebrated a lick of paint on St James's Park. But I didn't want to look at that match against Southampton in too much detail. I was more fascinated by them going to Everton in their last away game and winning against a team in Fulham who were gunning for European football themselves. So let's have a look at how they set up in that one. Well, look, one thing I will say, David Moyes is a manager quite old school, but a one who's transitioned through football, ever-changing, and managed to do so pretty well. Win the trophy for West Ham, and now he's shored things up at Everton. And since he's come in, they've actually registered the 4th highest points in the league since their first win in January, I believe. I think they've got 28 in total. So that's impressive in itself. But when I think of a David Moyes team and this Everton side, I think of organised, well-drilled. But with this one in particular, very low possession. I'm going to share the possession stats on the screen. 18th. And yes, half of that season was without Moyes. I'm not denying that. But this Fulham game in particular, they managed to win. 36% possession they had away from home, and they managed to win 3-1. Their possession stats are not going to be high. And I expect Newcastle on Sunday to have loads of the ball, wind in our sails, because we're the one going for something. But Everton will happily see that, and they'll just gobble that up and allow that to play out. Now, one man I wanted to focus on from that last away win for them is Doucouré. Look, this is his last ever game for Everton. He's actually going elsewhere. He's decided not to sign a new contract, but he has been playing as part of a 4-4-2. Very unorthodox, very old school. Remember Jim Bassett's England manager? We're playing 4-4-2.
Ladies and gentlemen, England will be playing 4-4-2.
And yes, him, partner and Beto, it just sounds strange. He's not a striker, he's not a forward, but the way he is used is something Newcastle need to look out for on Sunday. Doucouré against Fulham constantly dropped deep And when Fulham tried to play the ball wide, as I have no doubts Newcastle will, at every opportunity, especially depending what system we set up in, where we don't have as much creativity from the centre of the park, Doucouré's dropped in. So not just doubling up on wide men, tripling up. And what that actually stops, where Doucouré took up good positions against the London side, it stops as easy, that ball being played from the winger into central areas. It actually, on a lot of occasions in that match, forced them to go backwards and start again. Exactly what Everton wanted. But it's not just tripling up and helping to triple up on the left and the right that I think Doucouré has been quite useful for them as part of this very strange system with a midfielder playing as a second striker. He's also constantly dropped deep, but been the perfect man from those deeper positions to receive the ball when it's won back. And they do like to double up, and I've got no doubts they will do that on Bruno and Tonali at every opportunity. But he is the man, and he's pretty good for it with those long gangly legs to drive the ball up the pitch. And then he's got the likes of Ndiaye, who's been in great goal-scoring form. He got both against Southampton last week to carry the ball up the pitch. And Beto, Newcastle's centre-backs need to win the battles with him. Whether there's 2 centre-backs for us or whether there's 3 in a back 5, he is that sort of striker, especially with Everton not having much possession, who is wanting the ball at the feet to slow the game down, lay it off to the players around him and then move further up the pitch. We need to win those first balls, not second balls, first balls. But again, Doucouré was a one that really fascinated me, especially for them to go to Fulham and win the match with such low possession. I thought he was key. So if we are going to play the ball wide, we need to be aware of so many men swarming in and around us. But to lead on to team news next, I do think Newcastle could be onto something with who is injured and not going to be playing for Everton. Before we get into the team news, I'm going to talk about something that relates heavily to it. One thing I will say for this Everton team is their goals conceded, their defensive record is brilliant. It really, really is. And before that worries, and I'm going to share on the screen actually, look at the company Everton are in this season to say they're just below mid-table. Fair play, and that's their back 4, and of course a certain Jordan Pickford, which we'll touch on later in this video. But before you start sweating, Newcastle fans, David Moyes, just as I'm recording this video, has confirmed that Branthwaite, by far their best centre-back, and Seamus Coleman at right-back are both unavailable and injured for this match. So that changes things. So that means, if I was a guessing man, their likely defensive back line is going to be Ashley Young pushing late 30s at right-back, and then Keane and O'Brien, who's been in and out of their team, a slight youngster, I think he's only 22, at centre-back. Branthwaite being out is going to be key because this Everton team like to soak up pressure and go from there, but he is a massive part of that. And there's been so many clubs linked with him in the last couple of years. I'd be surprised if he sees a lot of his career out at Everton, if I'm being totally honest with you. But those injuries could be massive for us. Right, that moves us on to team news for us. Well, look, as I've already said, I fully expect Everton to go with the low block, park the bus. It's called park the bus, and I'll take that to my grave. I'm going to get that petition to Parliament to get rid of the words low block. It won't be for the first time that we've seen a team come to St James's Park and literally sit back and try and see whether they can hit us on the counter and get the ball up the other end. So we need to be prepared to deal with that. Now look, Joe Linton's not going to be fit for this one. Devastating. I would love his aggression, his athleticism, his defensive work, but also his support at the other end to be available for this match. I think we've really missed him, as we always will. I think Bruno and Tonali to a degree have missed him as well, but it looks like he's ruled out. Isak, he's going to give him opportunity to become available for this one. For me, Alexander Isak, if he's got 50 minutes in him, one match left, one big push, get him in. I'm not convinced by Callum Wilson, although he would probably want to go out singing and dancing. Just in terms of how we play, I don't think Callum Wilson is suited to it anymore. Asula as a striker, Eddie House continuing to mould him as a right-sided player. Again, not for me, still too raw. Let's not experiment with such a big game. Now, Kieran Trippier could be available for this one. If he was, I would be tempted, with Everton defending in mind, and having a weaker defence in this one as well, I would be tempted to go back to a 4-3-3 and bring Joe Willock in. And I know Newcastle fans are going to give me 2 fingers and say, what? Joe Willock has not offered him enough. Well, this is, in my head, going to be an attacking game. And if it's not working, you can change it round. You've got Lewis Miley to come on and shore things up. I would go back to a 4-3-3. I would go Harvey Barnes on the left and Jacob Murphy on the right. And look, Anthony Gordon, lots of Newcastle fans are going to want him to play. He did disappoint at Arsenal last week, but this whole Everton mindset, I'm just not sure. I would rather see him come off the bench when we maybe need a big player to come on for more energy, because we do drop off after 50, 60 minutes, especially if we go full pelt in the first half. Barnes, I felt sorry for him playing on the right in recent games. I really have. The left-hand side was where he was scoring loads of goals for us, cutting in, getting assists, doing really, really well, and he's been shoved over. If we do go to a back five, which I don't think is necessary for this one, but teams and injuries might mean that Eddie Howe has to do it again. I would probably start Gordon on the right. If we go on Jacob Murphy wing back, let Gordon play out there, give Barnes the position that he's done so well in, that helped us win a cup and score a shit ton of goals in the process, and them two can switch. Them two can continuously switch. But yeah, a 4-3-3, if you've got Kieran Trippier back just for his set pieces alone, would be something I would explore. But again, if we go with the 5 at the back system we've played in recent weeks, Jacob Murphy wing back and Gordon, Barnes and Murphy all on the pitch at the same time against this Everton team, there's no excuses. There isn't any excuses. But before I get into predictions, let's talk about some final of the season. Oh, God, I'm getting emotional. Stats. Right, he's starting big and he's starting positive. Newcastle United have won 8 of their last 10 final games of the season, drawing 1 and losing 1. Liverpool 3-1 in the 1920 season, and that 1-1 draw when we already had Champions League secured at Chelsea 2 seasons ago. And I was absolutely steaming because I'd been drinking on a boat since 10 o'clock in the morning. So there's a good one to start. The positivity just keeps coming. Newcastle United have won 12 Premier League home games. Yes, that season ticket has been very worth its money this season. Long may that continue. But if we win on Sunday, we will win more than 12 Premier League home games in one season for the first time since 2002, 2003. So many comparisons between Eddie Howe and Sir Bobby Robson as a person, and the stats are starting to match up as well. And I can't do stats without talking about the opposition, but I'm going to keep it very positive. Everton have won just one of their last 8 final games of the season, beating Bournemouth a couple of years ago, 1-0. All the omens are there. Everton's last game of the season for a lot of their fans was last week, waving off Goodison Park with safety in the Premier League secured. They're probably already thinking about next season, but that doesn't mean there's such a sure thing in the Premier League, and that's what gets me the most nervous. So without further ado, let's get into some predictions. Well, look, the message is clear, and I'm sure the message will be loud and clear from the likes of Bruno, who's desperate to play in the Champions League, Tonali, Alexander Isak. Look, if you're half fit and you do start on Sunday, just give it everything. You've got the whole summer to nurse anything off. We haven't really seen a proper Alexander Isak for a while. Dig deep. Every single one of them needs to dig deep. This is not just a massive football match on the pitch for the growth of the club on this project, but off the pitch as well. And I know we don't like to talk about that as football fans, but that's how important this 190-minute game against a team that we should, to all degrees, beat. And look, I'm going to finish on this Jordan Pickford debacle. The inflatable dinosaurs I probably found funny when I saw it for the first time 4 years ago. It's never been funny since. Let's boo him when he walks over to us, but let's leave it there. There are bigger fish, or dinosaurs, should I say, to fry than Griffin, a Sunderland fan who's probably a little bit hungover after watching the playoffs the day before his hometown club. Let's forget about him and focus about the job in hand, and the job in hand is securing Champions League football. It's going to be a nervous day. We need a big start against a team that's going to surrender possession and sit back, and let's hope we get it. One last push, lads, to sign off what has been the most incredible season supporting this incredible football club. If you've watched this far, Newcastle fans, drop us a like, drop us a little comment, let us know your thoughts, and whack that subscribe and get Black and White Banter across all social media. One final push, one job to do. It's in our hands, so let's go and grab it. Away the lads!